So let's bring in Try Gowdy, former House Oversight Committee chairman and Fox News contributor. Good evening to you, Try. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Yes, what's your reaction to this news that his appeal was rejected?
Twofold, and one of them will be wildly unpopular, but I think it's important to say it. Number one, it's a celebration of our justice system, where you can be the second in command at the world's premier law enforcement agency and still be subject to investigation and potentially indictment, whether you're second in command at the FBI or working the second shift at a manufacturing plant in South Carolina. The blindfolded woman doesn't care who you are. That's something to be celebrated for. Now, for the wildly unpopular part, he's presumed innocent. And I know that's not popular to say in a political context. It's not. But he's presumed innocent. And even if he's indicted, the indictment is no evidence of a crime. He's entitled to present his case in front of 12 of his fellow citizens. And look, I know politics doesn't reward fairness, but our justice system needs to survive long past the political vagaries. And it is important, just like it was with President Trump, when I was very tough on Democrats like Adam Schiff that wanted to put him in jail. Before the Mueller report had ever been issued, I'm going to be consistent. If I'm wrong, I'm at least consistently wrong.
You know, I commend you on that, and that's the way we have approached this as well. However, as we just played, Andrew McCabe has not given the same treatment to President Trump, who did go through a 2-year process of investigation, and who he continues to go on television and accuse of, potentially being a Russian agent. But I want to ask you something about, because it's a little confusing. The leak that he gave, ostensibly, allegedly, to the Wall Street Journal was essentially a leak that appears it may have been done in an effort to sort of spin things his way, to make him look very fair that he was continuing to do the Clinton investigation while they were looking into these issues with regard to the president as well. So the question is why? Why would he feel, if he felt that he was being fair on both sides, that he needed to do that to protect his image?
Self-interest. He lied to Michael Horowitz's investigators because he leaked something that was in his best interest. It cast him in the best light possible. It's the oldest motive known to man, which is self-interest. So when you have an obligation to tell the truth, he had an option. He could have not answered the question. He could have invoked the fifth.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that they're talking about 4 separate occasions. 4 separate occasions when they say that he misled them. 2 where he affirmatively lied, and then 2 where he had a lack of candor, which is you have information, you have a duty to disclose it, and you fail to do so. So both lying affirmatively and then failing to tell the truth when he had an obligation to do so. So we don't know whether or not his name is going to be intertwined into the reports that are still to come out, the larger report from the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, and then John Durham's report, which is as an attorney, state's attorney report that's coming out. But Bill Barr, who has seen more of these documents, and you have seen more of them as well, I just want to remind everyone, said this about what's to come.
Yes, I think spying did occur.
Well, I'm not going to speculate about when it started. We're going to find out when it started. Some of the explanations I've gotten don't hang together. So in a sense, I have more questions today than I did when I first started.
You said back in May, watch the emails between Brennan and Clapper, correct?
Right. Brennan and Comey. Yes, ma'am.
Brennan and Comey, excuse me. Can you expand on that?
Well, I mean, we're in December of 2016. This is well after the Russia investigation been launched by Peter Strzok, in case anybody's forgotten that name. Well after the first FISA, probably after the renewal. And here's Jim Comey conceding that the dossier is unverified. It's never been corroborated, and yet it's being used in court filings. And to my knowledge, the court was never told it was not corroborated. So, but again, I think Bill Barr would tell you the same thing, Martha, if he was on the show. There is a difference between doing a really lousy job. There's a difference between not meeting anyone's expectations for public service and then being indicted. So I'm going to caution my Republican friends again. If the only thing that is going to satisfy you is the indictment of certain high-level officials, you may wind up being disappointed.
Yeah.
I have higher expectations for government than just narrowly avoiding indictment.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think a lot of people in in the intelligence area believe the same thing in terms of some of what happened here. So we'll see where it goes. Try Gowdy, always good to see you, sir. Thank you very much.